Apologize in advance. Yes, short people unite. I apologize in advance for my voice. I'm getting over being sick. Everybody tells me I do too much, and I think they're right. Another thing besides my role, I'm the director of bands at Mercer, and I conduct the Wind Ensemble. And also, my wife and I just opened Braddock's Cask and Table downtown. It's a brand new restaurant. So it's 347 Cotton Avenue. So if you haven't been there yet, please join us for dinner. It's a fun space. If you look at the walls and they've been stained darker, I did all of that. This summer, I worked on my conducting gesture in that way. So a couple things about me. Ingrid, my wife, always says, "How are you the way that you are?" And I really don't know the answer to that. And so I was born and raised in Texas in a very, very religious, very, very conservative family. Church of Christ, anybody know that one? It's like worse than Baptist. It's no instrumental music, right? Band director, no instrumental music. Okay, so we see kind of where this is going already. And so I was raised conservatively, but you know, I started the clarinet, and that became kind of my safe space, I think. I developed my musicianship, my confidence in that way. Eventually became like the drum major of the band and all of that kind of thing. And that ignited my passion for music and for teaching, and led to all of the degrees that you got to hear about just a little bit ago. Now, because I went to private school and that kind of thing, I was very sheltered, and so I didn't know what a gay person was until I was in high school. Really, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer was kind of like how I figured that out. You know what I mean? Like, great show, huge fan. Willow and Tara forever. And
I know that's right.
yeah, and but also my theater teacher. I could tell that there was something in me that recognized something in her, right? And she had a partner, a longtime partner, and the first time I actually went out of the country was to drive to their wedding in Canada, because that was before it was legalized here. But I recognized, and I think I hid that away, because I knew what my family would say and do with that information, and I knew it would be destructive, especially if I were to figure that out during high school while I was at home, if you guys understand, you know. Because we were a 3 times a week to church kind of family, so. Anyway, so I go to college and continue to chase, you know, my bachelor's in music education, and continue to do really well in music. And get my first teaching job in Chicago, and my second teaching job in Westcliff, Colorado. It's a small town in Colorado in the mountains. And I think because this was the first time I was like, the pace of life slowed down enough for me to like think and feel and get to know people, get to know myself. And so it was during this time that I had my first relationship with a woman, and then eventually Ingrid and I met there. So this is pretty nerdy. So Ingrid had a restaurant in Westcliff called the Wine Mine, which was a wine bar. And I was the band director that would go study my scores on the patio of the Wine Mine. And Ingrid was like, she's not a musician, right? So she was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, see, my color code, this does dynamics, and this is how I do my theory." Anyway, whatever, you guys you would be bored by this, just like she was. And, but you know, it became the place that I would go and I would share my hopes and dreams, right? And I knew if I went on Saturday, they wouldn't finish all the wine. And so if I stayed a little later, then we could start drinking all the wine for free. I was a poor teacher, you know. And so, but I would share my hopes and dreams, and it's like I knew I wanted to be a collegiate music educator and mentor at that point. And I think that her artistic, creative self and mine found each other, and thank goodness I was in this small town of Westcliff, and I met my partner, my soulmate, of Ingrid Davis. And she's over there at the restaurant working right now, probably yelling at somebody, but it is what it is. And so, you know, you take that moment in time, and I was so scared to tell my family about this person that I knew that I'd found that was going to be my person. And so we dated for about a year, and my parents came in town for a concert that I was giving. And I introduced them to my roommate Ingrid. And the next day my dad asked me, "Are you two together?" And I said, "Yes, we are." And we talked for a while longer. I could tell my parents were devastated. And we kind of finalized that conversation, and I went to I went to school, I think, to prepare for the concert, and they left town. So they left town at that moment and went back to Texas, and we had a very strained relationship for a long time. Then I got into graduate school, and I studied with the most incredible man, and this is where we get back to chosen family. His name is Dr. Jack Stamp, and he's famous if you're a band nerd. If anybody's in band in here, you probably played a piece by him. And one of the quotes that he tells all of his graduate students is the following, and it's by Richard Bach, and it's from his book Illusions. And it says, "Seldom do members of a family grow up under the same roof." And he became that musical mentor, that musical father for me, and for many of his other graduate students. Graduate school is a really tough time. You're kind of figuring out a lot of things all at once. And I think the most amazing thing, I remember being really kind of scared about telling him, because I moved to Indiana, Pennsylvania. It's amazing that she didn't leave me when we arrived at the apartment that I signed the contract on, sight unseen. There's a child in the room. There was a spray painted penis on the side. Anyway, so there's that. And painted plywood floors also, right? So we left her house that had a wine cellar, and then went to this place in IUP. Anyway, so I was really scared about telling Dr. Stamp. And when I did, he was the most embracing person. And I think the most important thing that showed me that he not only accepted me, but accepted Ingrid and loved us, was he invited us to Thanksgiving that year. And my parents had disinvited us for over 6 years by that point. And so it meant a lot to be with my new teacher for that particular holiday. It's one of my favorites. Skipping forward to my doctorate, I studied with an incredible, out and proud man named Don McKinney, who he and his partner Brad were themselves. And it was about the best example that you can have. And again, I think we found members of our chosen family. So to round all of this out, in every community I've been a part of, if I just stood back and looked around, there were members of chosen family right there ready. And I think sometimes it's really hard for us to reach out to those people, and sometimes it's hard to recognize who they are, but I think real. You start to find those real people in your life that are your family. And if you don't feel that, then I'm sorry for you. But also my hope for you is that you do look around to the people that you have in your life, and again, something in you will recognize something in them, and that's an important thing. It's almost an unsaid thing that I think you start to find those people you can really trust. And I just wanted to wrap this up to say, my chosen family were really important, while my family took a long time to come back to being the loving, kind people that I know that they are. And 2020 was the first time that they invited us as a couple to Thanksgiving. So it took about a decade of a lot of patience, a lot of love. And I hope that for all of you, because I think it's important that we have family, period. So that's my story.